watching animations, and it's hard to abstain from giving our opinions, though we're not classically trained. But we're gonna do it anyway, so just prepare your brain. Buckle up, cause it's the smear campaign.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, we're talking about how my guitar is gently weeping.
Ah, what a great movie.
What a great movie about the Beatles.
Hello.
Hello.
We are the boys.
This is Smear Campaign.
Blurring the line between reality and animation.
My name is Sam.
And I'm Esperanza.
And we watch Kubo and the Two Strings.
Isn't that cool?
Isn't that a movie? Didn't that come out? Didn't somebody see that at some point?
Yeah.
You saw it.
I did. I saw it on the opening night.
You supported the movie in theaters.
It was great.
You gave the studio a chance to, fight back and continue creating their visions. And I did jack shit.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. It was really helpful.
I didn't see it at all until just tonight.
And it was great. The greatest movie of all time?
It's good.
No, I'm just kidding.
It's a very good movie.
It is good.
Yeah. So this is Smear Campaign. It's a podcast about cartoons. We talk about them. We analyze them. We give the objective final say on whether movies are good or not good.
Yep, we're those guys.
Yeah, as we say, good or nud.
Good or nude.
So we both watched the movie. It's the latest from, what's the studio's name?
Oh, Laika Studios?
Laika Studios, who is famous for movies like Coraline and Paranorman and Box Trolls. And this was their latest production. Many consider it to be their most ambitious project.
Their lowest grossing, fun fact. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know I should have gone to the movies more. I was just so selfish.
Back in 2016.
Back in 2016, I had not a dollar to my name.
What's the movie about?
Well, usually we would explain the movie during the review, but in looking for, as one of our time-honored traditions on this landmark series, is to find negative reviews. And there's one I found that just really, I think it kind of sums up the movie pretty well. So, if you don't mind, I'd like to give a little passage.
Let's hear it.
From the book of Hayden B. Have a star. This may be one of the worst written movies I have ever witnessed. It has bad characters, backstory, and logic. Warning! This review goes into detail about the movie's plot, characters, and scenes. It's okay, Hayden B., that's why we're here. You may thank me later. You may thanks me later.
Oh.
Let's say you have a plot that hinges around a backstory that won't be told for some time. Imagine that backstory being two people fight, the guy calls the evil girl hot so she stops being evil because that's what this story is about. Evil father doesn't like this, so he takes his grandson's eye, attempting to take both, so he doesn't succumb to the same fate, which doesn't make much sense, since it was words that turned his daughter, but whatever. Now our story starts, and the once evil mother is escaping on a raft, using her magic powers to cut through waves. She hits her head on a rock and gets brain damage. Fast forward 10 or so years into the future, and now our protagonist Kubo is helping out his mother and doing street performing with his own paper-moving magic, telling the story of his brave father when he leaves from his mother when she isn't being a cabbage. When she isn't being a cabbage.
Oh no, that's kind of insensitive.
A little bit insensitive. Now that I'm reading through this, I'm not sure if this is the best account of the story. But I guess we have to push forward.
Jeez.
We gotta have faith in Hayden. He's
right.
gonna pull through for us. Anyway, fast forward to the next day, and Kubo is at a festival celebrating the dead. He tries contacting his father, but he never shows up, which is the only good foreshadowing this story has. Kubo stays outside too long, and since he can't be found at night by his family, his aunts show up and menacingly act the same way as each other towards him. The village gets destroyed. No one dies despite being attacked by two demons, and Kubo's mother sacrifices herself for the first time so that he can get away with his clothing wings that he will never use again. He does use them again.
He does.
It's a different form, but he does. That's like the end of the movie. Anyway, the story continues with him trying to find 3 magical items his dad wielded in order to kill the rest of his family. It's never explained why these 3 items are not all together, or how certain characters are what they currently are at given points. All you get is either magic or cursed. Sometimes Kubo's power, which is to control paper, is used to move leaves, wood, creating a shield, and turning an immortal god into a confused old man. Every time danger is presented, the movie will go out of its way to tell you what is going to happen. Don't go outside at night. Next scene will be going out at night. There's a monster underwater that will keep you down there. Better believe we're about to see that.
I don't know why we wouldn't.
Yeah,
why would they talk about it if we're not going to see it?
I mean, maybe Hayden wants more of a challenge. He wants you to describe something and then do something else.
Nice.
Kubo has a habit of caring about his dead mother only when brought up. Otherwise, he seems pretty indifferent. The day after his mother's death, he's playing around with a sacred bird, sending an army of paper birds with a malicious intent, grinning all the while. When asked what he did before starting his quest, he would say generic things like skipping stones and catching fireflies, which is fine to flesh out more about his character. I personally am impressed about how he managed to catch fireflies during the day since he couldn't be out at night. So, moving on to our other main characters, we have a sentient piece of paper that acts as a silent representation of Kubo's father, a monkey and a beetle man. The beetle man is comic relief and the monkey is a straight man. I find the paper to be the most interesting character. I like how he points to the magical MacGuffins since the other characters have no clue where to go, which in itself doesn't matter since besides the last item they are found on accident. He leads them to him.
Yeah, he does.
Wait a second. It's fine. The items themselves also don't really matter. The sword is the most important one of them all as it has a function and is used in every action scene after acquiring it. However, Kubo learns the power is within him and not his father's relics, so he uses powers he didn't have prior to defeat his grandfather, who I might add, just shows up after he gets the last item needed in the village that he starts at. Yes, grandfather got bored after the whole family died, besides Kubo. So that's basically the movie. Can't really say I enjoyed anything about it besides the visuals, which were nice, good stop-motion animation, only thing good about all of this. I hope you have a good day and avoid this movie unless you are incredibly curious.
Oh my goodness. I gotta be honest, that was a harsh...
It was a bit of a harsh reading. I don't think it gave the movie a very good benefit of the doubt. And I was kind of hoping he would change his tone halfway through, because I was hoping that he would foreshadow something and then do something different.
Yeah.
But he was just like the movie.
Yeah. Disgusting.
So yeah, sorry about that.
That's a long review.
That was longer than I thought it would be, and I already saw how long it was. But yeah, that's pretty much what happens. It's sort of a fable story of a magical boy who's born of like a sort of immortal deity and a human samurai man, and love and loss, and kind of a coming of age story, but also sort of a magical realism. It's not a very traditional narrative.
Yeah.
It kind of is. I mean, it's kind of like a go on this quest and go get the 3 items. Kind of like our favorite movie, Onward.
Yes, we all love that movie. It's fantastic. Star-studded cast.
But I think this movie doesn't seem to be too focused on the story, really.
I think it's just the visuals and everything is really where the quality's at.
Yeah.
Although the story is pretty good.
The story is good. It's like, I guess, it's like not a traditional like movie story.
Yeah.
It feels more like kind of older, a tale passed through time kind of thing, where you just kind of recount. Like, storytelling is kind of a recurring motif throughout the movie, where the first thing we see Kubo do is, after he leaves his mother for the day, he goes into town and starts telling stories with his magical paper folding abilities and his shamisen. And it's the way that he frames the story is very much intended to reflect how the actual events of the movie take place. There's a line that keeps repeating where they say, before the story begins, if you have to blink, blink now, which I think is a very fun thing to start a movie with when so much of the focus is on the sort of style and visual elements of it. The stop motion is, of course, very good.
Yeah, it's like if you look away at any point, our hero will surely perish.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool because every character in the movie has their own, like, distinct and very unique and cool story. And the way they tell their story makes it seem like their story is the right one.
Yeah.
Even if they're the bad guys.
Yeah.
Like, even the sisters have their own way of spinning the tale to make it seem like they were betrayed.
Yeah. There's a lot of themes of, like, memory and storytelling and connections. It's maybe not, like, tied up in a neat bow in the way that you might expect from an animated movie.
Right.
But the fact that it's not is kind of fun, I think.
It's interesting.
And it speaks to a sort of, like, less Western kind of story. Even though the movie was made by Americans, it's very much set in Japan. With a lot of Japanese imagery. There's origami. They talk about samurais a lot. There's the red gateways. I don't know what the name for those are. But the music and the aesthetic, like the style of the creatures they face, it's all very Japanese inspired.
Yeah.
Which I think you've got some fun facts about that kind of inspiration.
Oh, it was just I think the director of the film said that it was some sort of an homage to Miyazaki and the Beatles and another director that I can't remember now.
Like the band The Beatles?
Yeah, just because of the music that inspired him and his family when he was a kid or something like that. Yeah.
I just thought they included that song at the end because they thought it was because he's got a guitar kind of.
Well, yeah, but also that was like his way of just throwing it in there as a treat for himself, I think.
Oh, nice. So he's like a big fan of the Beatles, wanted to honor them in a weird, interesting way.
So. Yeah, and then on set they had a Japanese culture consultant just to ask questions about the stories and the way that it works, I suppose. But that's it. That's all the fun fact I had about that.
Well, that's good. It's interesting the way kind of the discourse around that kind of representation has changed over probably just the past 5 or 10 years, really. Wasn't that uncommon for Disney to say, like, okay, now we're going to make a movie about...
Romani.
Yeah, now we're going to make a movie about the Romani. Now it's more of a discussion of, like, well, why is it that at least primarily white production team made this movie about a culture that isn't theirs?
Yeah.
And it's an interesting discussion. I don't know that there's a single answer to it, but it does sort of, like, prompt a...
discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it's that type of story is easiest to set up in front of the backdrop of, like, Buddhism and folklore and stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, people who actually, like, really follow a religion, like, cohesively. So, like, in the town, they all follow the same religion, and the religion they follow and the way that they greet their ancestors and send them off to the spirit world is, like, a huge part of the story. And if something like that were to happen, like, in, I don't know, in a Western setting.
In a cowboy town.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that it would have translated as...
That's true.
As well.
It does, like, the aesthetic does kind of help with certain themes and ideas that they want to explore.
The fact that it's all about, like, loss and death and rebirth and all that sort of thing, just, I don't think it would work as well in a different set. But I don't know, because they didn't do it in a different setting.
Yeah, maybe.
What I mean.
You know, maybe a cowboy story would be been interesting. It would have been interesting.
His father appears to him in his baked beans. I don't know, dude. What do cowboys do?
His father's just like an armadillo on the side of the road.
It's like, hello.
Hello.
I have the armor unbreakable.
It's my armadillo show.
He's like, alright, Mr. Roadkill.
That's his name in the movie, Mr. Roadkill. So, I guess to give a little more respect to the plot, a few things that were left out. Kubo is raised by his mother after she saves him from his grandfather. Because his grandfather, I think
stole his eye.
Yeah, his grandfather stole his eye, I think because he wanted his legacy to go back to him. Because by giving herself to mortal man, Kubo's mother, Saryatu, which I don't know that we hear her name ever in the movie, but that's what it's listed as on Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
She sort of, like, subjected them to the mortal world, and his grandfather's not a big fan of that. So, in order to protect him and keep him away from his grandfather, who Saryatu now realizes is, like, this evil, malevolent force, she protects him, but in the process loses a lot of herself, which the first, like, opening scenes with her and Kubo are really devastating.
Oh, yeah, they really
Immediately, right out the gate, it's like, oh no, she's lost herself. She's whatever, like, the equivalent condition she has is just, like, she's no longer really all there, and except for, like, certain times of the night or certain times of the day when she can share these stories with Kubo again.
Yeah, it's unclear whether it's, like, a curse or it's because she hit her head.
Yeah, I think the idea is it's supposed to be like a curse, and then by giving up her body, she kind of loses the curse or something. It's not fully explained.
Yeah, no.
A lot of stuff isn't really explained.
We just gotta piece it together.
Yeah, which some people are definitely not fond of, such as Mr. Hayden.
I mean, it's fine with me.
Yeah.
I like to think about it.
Yeah. It was, at the beginning of the movie, it was a little bit distracting for me, just how many things were sort of, like, introduced without not only not being explained, but, like, not really being explored. It's just like, oh, this is a thing too. Oh, and this, and this, and this happens too. And then this, like, now the monkey's alive, and now the monkey's also his mother, and also this and that, and everything. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, there's a lot of rules.
Yeah. And it's like, the fact that they don't explain it at first was, like, a little distracting, but over time I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's starting to come together and, like, down with whatever they decide to go with.
I have a feeling that they may have wanted to make it longer.
Yeah, it definitely feels.
But it was already
the
longest stop-motion film ever made.
Yeah, it's such a huge, like, the amount of action and the amount of, like, free-flowing camera movement, which is just a crazy thing to do with stop-motion.
Yeah, it's an hour 41 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is long. And it also beat out Coraline. Yeah. So, they beat themselves for the longest stop-motion movie ever made, which is awesome.
Yeah, it feels like, if there is something that I would say, it does feel like the story is bigger than the movie's able to make it. They do have to kind of, like, jump from goalpost to goalpost to kind of, like, get the pieces of the story moving along. And this kind of feels like the story that wants to be this epic, like, 3-hour full adventure, like Lord of the Rings kind of style, like, quest adventure.
That's good.
What we get is great, but it does feel a little, like, jumbled as a result.
But, that's what you get.
Yeah, that's what we got. So you correctly guessed that the beetle, who surprisingly turned out to be his dad, when they use the exact same imagery to depict the beetle shell and the armor that represents his dad, and it turns out the beetle was his dad.
Yeah, no one saw it coming. Not even
Nobody could have seen that coming. It's a very obvious twist. That I don't know if it's even supposed to be a twist as much as it's like the fact that Kubo and Saryatu just learned there is the point.
Yeah.
Like,
it's an insulting twist if it is one.
Yeah, it's more like this is the part of the story now where they realize that the beetle was his dad the whole time.
Yeah.
Like throughout the movie there's the whole parallels of monkey and beetle arguing like an old married couple.
Yeah.
And then you realize, it's because they do have that kind of dynamic between them.
Oh, it's boomer humor.
It's a boomer humor.
You're stupid, Beetle.
You're
so
yeah?
Stupid. Well, you're stupid.
Such a hard-ass monkey.
You dumb hoe. My wife is a bitch.
Oh, no.
And I don't like
Matthew
her.
McConaughey. But you correctly guessed that the beetle was voiced by Matthew McConaughey.
Indeed I did. He's a very particular voice.
Yeah. He's got very particular views about his wife. Which were reflected in this movie.
Jeez.
Because he deeply respects her. She is his quest.
And,
which is kind of a weird emotional line.
Yeah.
I don't...
You are my quest.
Doesn't sound that great of a line.
Sam, you are my quest.
Oh, no.
Facts.
Oh, please don't make that the thing.
What does it even mean?
I don't know.
I guess will kill a man to get to you.
It's sort of putting a lot of reverence on the term quest, which I guess we have that reverence because Kubo's going on a quest, but it also feels like that line should have meant more when they said it.
Yeah.
Because it meant a lot in the story, but it didn't feel like it meant a lot outside of the story.
And words are what made her realize that there was good in the world or whatever.
The way they set it up, like she and her sisters were these like angels of death, I guess, who did her father's bidding. And when she was sent down to kill the samurai Hanzo because he was going to get the armor that was going to make him too powerful, she fell in love with him, and that set the whole thing off.
Yeah, and she did already, go alone. She had decided to go alone to see him, whether it was on purpose or not.
Yeah, I think the way they say it is she was sent there because she was the strongest or something.
She went early to tire him.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Or that was her quest. Maybe her sisters were off doing their own thing. Maybe they were going to the carnival or...
Well, she says she and her sisters were supposed to go down, but then she just got there early.
Oh, okay.
That was kind of what it said. And I was so did she go against the will of when they were supposed to go and had already decided to...
What if one of the other sisters went down first and he tried that line on them? Do you think they would have felt as,
Wouldn't have
sentimental?
worked. No, they go everywhere together because they're literally the same voice actor.
That's true. By the way, the sisters, or the aunts, I guess, are very creepy.
Yeah.
That's a great visual. One of the many, many great visuals in the movie. The aunts are really unsettling when they first appear.
Super creepy.
All the lanterns on the river go out and then a fog rolls in. And you just see a figure way off in the distance hello, Kubo.
We're your family.
We're your family, Kubo. Your grandfather wants your eye. He favors it so much.
He's a nice guy.
He's such a nice guy, Kubo. He's said a few things. We've all said things. He's all right, though.
And then they kill his mom. Straight up. Good stuff.
And she sends the rest of her strength into Monkey, which, for some reason, she keeps her identity a secret, I guess. She doesn't tell Kubo that she is his mother. She just says, I'm Monkey, I'm your protector, I'm going to protect you. And anyone who comes between you and me, they're gonna,
catch these hands.
Yeah, gonna catch these hands. Gonna slap them 1-2 on the face. Pop, pop. And,
What?
I don't know.
Right.
I didn't write the movie.
She really says that.
Something like that, yeah. She puts on a cowboy hat and is we're going to the Midwest.
That's the spittoon. That's cool.
The kind of twist is, one, the monkey is his mom, and the beetle is his dad. The beetle doesn't know because the beetle lost his memories, and nobody remembers because he was cursed into turning into a beetle, so no one knows that he's the dad. The monkey knows she's his mom, and she just doesn't say it. And then when she's asked about it, she's well, I'm about to lose my power. I won't be with him for very long, so he'll be all alone again. Right.
Right.
But that doesn't answer the question.
It could be maybe that, she was ashamed of her appearance or something like that. I don't know.
Or she, thought it was best for him that he not get, caught up on certain things.
Yeah.
Or something. I feel like there is an answer. Like, I don't think this is a movie where if there's a question, it's because they forgot to answer the question. But I do think, like, if maybe the movie was longer, if it was able to be a longer movie or something, then that question would be answered somewhere. Like,
this could be 3 parts.
Yeah, like, I think they could have made the Hobbit trilogy out of this movie.
I'd watch it.
I would. Like, I don't think that if I asked any of the people who put together the movie, if I asked them that question, they'd be like, huh. I think they'd be like, oh yeah, well, of course, what it means is this. Like, there's something there.
They would know.
It's kind of fun that the movie doesn't feel complete, in a way. Because it gives more of a sense of, like, mysteriousness.
This is a movie you could write an essay about, I think. Really analyze it.
Yeah, you could do a whole Wikipedia and, like, create a backstory for every single thing in the movie.
What do I always say? Sequels about him.
I
always pick a character and I say the sequel's going to be about them.
Who should the sequel be about this time? I think it should be about the one villager who was just super into the story.
That guy did really like the story. Yeah.
Beginning of the movie when Kubo's telling the story to everyone. Just one adult man is just like pushing over because like, oh, I know what happens next.
Yeah, and he's voiced by George Takei.
Yeah. Is that a different guy?
No, I assumed it would be the grandfather, but
yeah,
it's the really excited dude, I think.
There's a few villagers. That's another interesting thing is like, it kind of like throws you off at the beginning because they introduce this village and all these like not named but distinct characters within the village. So you think that there's going to be some kind of like internal politics and
discourse.
Yeah, discourse going on. But then they all assumedly die. They don't actually, but the village is razed and like Kubo is sent off into the wilderness. So they're all gone.
Yeah, and then you never hear from them till the end.
I like that. It's just like, it kind of like plays with your expectations a bit, where it's like, well, we wouldn't introduce all this stuff if it didn't mean anything. It's like, oh, but it doesn't mean anything because we're going somewhere else. It's like, oh man, I didn't realize.
I guess it's just to show you how people see him within his village or something.
Yeah, it's good backstory. It's good like world building and context.
Yeah, it's funny that he was like, What do I do before I go on my quest? I was skipping stones. We never saw that happen.
We didn't see that.
He doesn't mention any of the things he actually does in the beginning.
Yeah, he doesn't mention like, oh well, I used my magic to make magic origami men.
Yeah, which that's pretty cool, man.
That's a cool aspect of the movie. Is they beyond like the inspirations from Eastern culture. There's a lot of like specific crafts and arts that are very much of that like area.
Culture.
Like there's a lot of origami throughout the movie. That's like one of Kubo's main abilities. Is like he can use a shamisen, which is like he plays the music and that creates the art. It's an interesting thing. Like it feels like that specifically was also a passion of at least some of the people who were working on the movie because it looks like very authentic.
Yeah, it's really cool and almost impossible.
Yeah, there's a line where Monkey's like, "That doesn't look like it was origami. Some of you had to use scissors." Just good.
No, it's just origami.
Little jokes are fun.
Matthew McConaughey is funny.
Matthew McConaughey is like, he's a comic relief in a way that like he's usually the one making the joke, but the movie still kind of like is restrained in that way. It's not like constantly trying to make you laugh, but it does have a good amount of like fun little discourse between the characters.
And I like the little silent paper character.
Yeah.
Hanzo.
Yeah, that was a nice visual to have.
But it's like the real Hanzo is there, the bug Hanzo.
Yeah. This movie's a little confusing if you haven't. We're kind of like jumping all over the place.
That is true.
It does make like, I don't know. I guess it's confusing to describe, but it does all like make a lot of sense when you're watching the movie.
Yeah.
It's sort of just like a classic hero's journey.
That guy who saves everyone.
Yeah. It's almost like casually admitted, like you are extremely powerful, and you will become more powerful. But first, we have to find this. And he's like, whatever, monkey.
Yeah, basically.
That was also a little weird. Was the fact that as soon as his mom dies, it's like he thinks his mom is gone. His immediate response is to just get kind of cheeky, like pulling pranks on Monkey and being like, "Oh, you're so mean." It's a little bit of a tonal whiplash. Yeah,
it is weird. It's a weird transition, but maybe he's in shock. Maybe that's his traumatic response.
Yeah,
dude, I don't know.
I mean, there's no wrong way to do it. I guess every way's the wrong way.
This movie took 5 years to make, Sam.
Of course, it was such a huge production. The big set piece moments with the skeleton and the big eye sea creatures and the worm at the end.
Yeah, the dragon monster
thing. It's insane.
Crazy.
At the beginning of the movie, there's this like big sweeping shot where it's showing Kubo walking down his like mountain toward the village, and you just sort of zoom out and see this huge model and Kubo like intricately walking down it, despite how small he is compared to it. It's like, oh my god, that's such a that's not even like the biggest thing in the movie, but I was just immediately like, oh wow, that's incredible.
Yeah,
that they made that.
The Kubo model was 9 inches tall, so the height that the mountain had to be. Although they didn't make everything to scale. Some stuff they made smaller, like for example the dragon fish thing at the end.
Yeah.
And then brought it up to scale. Because if they had made the dragon thing like as long as it should have been, it would have been like 18 feet long. However, the skeleton was true to its size and is actually the largest puppet ever made in a stop motion movie.
Wow.
It's 18 feet tall.
Yeah, there's a little bonus at the end during the credits that shows the process of like just setting up the shot for the skeleton to like swing around. And it's so cool.
It's dope.
It's the coolest thing in the world.
Not to be dramatic, but it's definitely the coolest thing that I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen another cool thing.
And that is interesting. Like, you don't... I guess that's why not a lot of stop-motion movies are built around big action set pieces like this. Like, Paranorman has some, like a big moment at the end, I think. And there's some, like, pretty big scenes in, like, Coraline or Nightmare Before Christmas or some other things like that. But usually it's not... because that's so much harder to do when you have to manually move every single moving piece, every single frame.
Yes. Yeah, I would say I think Coraline was like less CG. Like I don't think they did a lot of that sizing down stuff and like putting it into the production afterwards. Yeah. I think that they just did everything true to size and like really kept the sets like to proportion and everything. But I think this movie was like more action packed, so they had to do a little more CG.
Yeah, it's ambitious,
which is fine. Not a problem, because it all works together pretty cohesively, I would say.
I'm not worried they're like ruining the purity. It's like they still did the thing, for God's sake.
Yeah, but they broke a couple of their own records, which I thought was cool. And also, the little puppet of Hanzo was the smallest set piece that was ever made only in the Laika Studios.
Right, that makes sense.
Not in any stop motion ever, but it was the shortest puppet ever animated.
Just a short king.
Short king. Oh, the other cool thing that I read was that Kubo has 48 million possible facial expressions, which is insane.
How do you count that?
I don't know. They made like his face, all of his expressions in 2 parts.
Yeah. So
he could have like 66,000 different faces, and then they would like just combine one of each.
Okay.
To like make all of his expressions. And they didn't use all of those expressions in the movie at all, but they had them all available, which is crazy.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I think they use like 3D printing for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The thing I remember hearing about that with Paranorman, where they just have different like model of his head for every facial expression he makes.
Yeah. And it's just the one character, 48 million?
I guess there's not a lot of characters that we see that much in the movie.
Yeah. And I'm good for them for making sure to like cover some characters' faces, like the 2 sisters that had the glass masks on.
Yeah, that helped a little bit with the little facial expressions.
They wouldn't have to animate their faces every time. Makes them more creepy anyway.
Those cheapskates. They didn't animate the ants.
Disgusting. Yeah, and it was already like a 1 million hour film or more.
It's a lot of work.
A lot of work, Sam.
Way too much work for anything.
For the lowest grossing Laika Studios film?
Yeah, that's a tragedy.
That's super disappointing. Come on,
It's all
Sam.
my fault.
This is all your fault.
I've done it again. I've ruined the world.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So what did people actually think about this?
We got some other negative reviews just for fun. We both really liked the movie.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
I especially like it.
Yeah.
It's a treat.
Esperanza's a big fan. She's #1 fan of Mr. Kubo.
Well.
I thought it was great. It's beautiful. It's incredible. It's like a huge accomplishment. Can't go understated, but it's also like, we talked about some of like the weird inconsistencies and stuff, but I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Like I don't mind that the movie's a little weird and goofy and janky and confusing sometimes, because there's a certain appeal to that, I think, which could be considered a cop-out, but who cares?
Yeah.
It's a movie.
It's a good one.
Whatever. It's fun.
It has a good story for what it's worth. I mean, you don't see a lot of movies with like a crazy story like that.
Yeah, it goes out of its way to not feel like a standard animated movie.
And they really don't like take any shortcuts or anything.
Yeah.
With like the way that they execute.
Yeah.
The story or anything.
Like, we didn't even go over, like, there's so many little moments where just like the visual storytelling does so much of the work.
Like when him or his mom have a dream, like all the papers start folding themselves up, and that shows you like the magic that they both share.
Yeah, there's a lot of like those moments that they still don't explain it to you, but you start to see connections that go between the characters and like this specific kind of magic that they're working with.
Yeah. And just even the relationships between the characters.
Yeah.
Like, even the little puppet who doesn't talk at all, but he is able to communicate with all of the characters in a different way.
The way they have him just, like, obstinately facing one direction, and then when he's turned around, he, like, hops back in place and...
Gets back to the right direction.
Yeah, it's a good bit of personality.
It's cute. He's a nice puppet.
We've got some negative reviews, as is tradition on this esteemed program.
Indeed.
So, you want to read the first one?
Alright. Dane V gives it 1 star. First 10 minutes were brilliant.
Alright, that's a good review.
It begins as one of the purest interpretations of the hero's journey I have ever seen, but it quickly becomes apparent that the screenwriter had no idea what the hero's journey is, interpreting every step in the most literal fashion possible and completely overlooking the actual emotional character growth that the steps in the journey are designed to spur on in a character. Every challenge Kubo faces is a shallow, a literal fight, or a poor attempt to touch on something meaningful. Good try, but ultimately disappointing and slightly boring. The animation is stunning, though, and the visual and sound design is incredible, as well as the acting, a good team with a bad screenplay.
Yeah, well, story didn't do anything for Dane. And I can understand that. Like, if you take everything kind of literally, then there's a lot that's kind of, like, it doesn't feel as deep in that way. If you're just saying, well, what did Kubo actually learn? What are the real meaningful moments? It is a lot of just, like, coming to a problem and then fighting it.
Dealing with it?
Yeah, and getting around it.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of, like, tricks to, like, make you think, wow, this character's really growing. Sort of like, no, this just sort of happens, and then they move on to the next thing. I can see that being...
I would say it's realistic.
Yeah.
More than anything else.
Yeah.
But in a totally unrealistic environment. With really good backdrops.
Yeah. And also the music's super cool.
Super great score.
Caleb B gives it 0.5 star. This reminds me of that other garbage movie, Coraline.
Wow.
And that one, Milan, or maybe Moana.
Ah!
Point is, they're all stupid with horrible levels of dialogue and a storyline so basic you won't remember that the movie existed in a year or two. I'm being serious.
Well, this movie came out in 2016, and here we are in 2021.
5 years later.
Giving it a watch.
Fuck you, Caleb. Fuck you, 2020.
And I think this is my 4th time seeing this movie.
Wow.
If I'm not mistaken. I made my mom watch it.
I just love how Caleb's like, I gotta get all my controversial opinions out there right at the same time. Also, I don't know how to spell Mulan.
Yeah. Also, Moana's just like a personal favorite of mine. So yeah,
that's part of why I picked out this review. Because I knew it was like all of your favorite things. Just
I really like that movie. Also, Coraline's a great movie.
Yeah.
And it's based off a book, too.
Just so you know, Caleb.
Just so you know. Alright, Brandon I gives it 0.5 star. Soul-crushing boredom and unrelatable sentimentality, which vainly tries to tug on heartstrings, yet instead left me wanting to strangle myself with them. Holy shit. Overly polished compared to previous, more triumphant Laika features. What the fuck, Laika?
Overly polished?
I wouldn't say that. But again, I'm not Brandon.
Yeah.
So.
You're not Brandon I as an intellectual.
Just my opinion, and I'm also a woman.
That's true.
I'm just kidding. Just a joke.
Just joking, everyone. No
As we know, I do make the decisions on whether or not this is polished or...
That's true. Esperanza gives it her stamp of approval. Polish.
And always on foot watch.
Wait a second, this is Polish, not polished.
Overly polished.
Get rid of these sausages.
What the hell?
Yeah, I don't know what it means, overly polished compared to previous, more triumphant films. Like, what does Brandon think polish is?
Maybe he didn't like the CG.
That might be the case.
I don't know.
It's not pure enough.
We need some answers.
Chris M gives it 0.5 star. What utter rubbish. It's nothing more than a puppet show with special effects thrown in to make you think it's cool. The voice acting is horrible, and the story is one you've heard about 1,000,000 times before. Why do idiots keep saying this film is like Zelda? I see nothing in common at all. Were all of you, like many critics I see, blinded because you felt this pretentious attempt at a film is art, while other animated films were trash? That's a lot of assumptions.
Oh, wow.
I did have that.
This is very targeted. Is this at someone?
I don't read the positive reviews because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We're here to look for the dank trash of people's
trash.
opinions.
Literally, yes.
But yeah, that's what we're all about. I guess people were saying that it's similar to Zelda, which I did get kind of a feeling for that.
Didn't you say something about that?
I did. When they were starting with like the skeleton was waking up and like the hand was rising up, I was like, oh, it's a Zelda boss.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of Zelda bosses that are just like floating hands and like a central figure. But maybe a lot of people have Zelda's like the one fantasy like fighting big monsters thing they maybe know.
Yeah.
So they think that. But
this guy knows better.
Yeah, like I could definitely see this stuff in Zelda. Because that's also like a Japanese series that's got a lot of fantasy stuff in it.
And monsters.
Yeah, big monsters and quests and destinies and all that. It's definitely not like Zelda. And also, you all think other animated films are trash. Like, it feels so...
Nothing more than a puppet show with special effects thrown in to make you think it's cool.
I don't know how you could have that opinion. A puppet show?
Disgusting. This is like one of the coolest, most time-consuming forms of...
Yeah, does he think,
art.
like... Does he think the characters are literally, like, the actors are just screened out and they're just, like, holding the little puppets and, like, juddering them back and forth? Alright, no strings on me.
This is the Pinocchio. Lily gives us 1 star. Many movie reviewers praise this as a Legend of Zelda in a movie.
And there's another one I
One of the best stop-motion animation movies ever. Yes, the stop-motion is amazing. No, this movie is not great. It is awful. The plot is twisted and confusing, but also predictable, and the movie is overall boring. Sometimes you win, sometimes you waste 2 hours on a movie. Wowie. I feel like these people were like, yes, the art is amazing, but it's not worth looking at.
I don't think anyone wants to be the one to say, oh, the art's not that good. Except for the one guy who was like, it's a puppet show. Besides him, everyone's like, okay, yes, it's a masterpiece, it's a fucking technical marvel, but...
He seemed nice. But I hated it, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So it's like, couldn't you just watch it just to appreciate it for the art?
Yeah.
And not the story?
Nuh-uh.
Which is what I've done several times.
You gotta have a story. You gotta have a hero's journey. He's gotta learn a lesson. He's gotta save his girlfriend at the end. That's something that he's gotta do.
Oh, he has to have a girlfriend to start with.
Yeah.
This guy's just a simp. He has no GF.
Lilia?
No, Kubo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Kubo, yeah. Michael L. gives it a 1.5 stars. Oof. Predictable. Dialogue riddled with cliches. Simple story that doesn't really make sense. Always had an uncomfortable feeling with a team of mostly white people appropriating Japanese themes to make this film. My favorite thing about the movie is the scores. There were some beautiful tracks. Overall, disappointed by this one.
It did have a good score.
There was another, like, professional review that I saw that was also negative. It didn't, like, the review doesn't say anything. It's not much longer than any of these. But one of the things it says is, like, a brief note on the movie's cast. It is predominantly white. Racially accurate casting may not be crucial in animation. Is there such a thing as an Asian voice? Which I think is missing the point of representation. This was in 2016?
Yeah, that's what...
It's worth, again, like we mentioned earlier, it might be worth considering what the purpose of making the cast all white was. Because that's still sort of like the default.
Yeah.
In most, like, at least American media, is to be like, oh yeah, well, they're going to be white. If they're not white, well, I guess we can make them something else, like any of the other, like, numerous races or ethnicities.
What besides the one they're supposed to be?
Well, like, if a character... I guess what I was saying is, like, there are less opportunities generally for actors, either in traditional acting or voice acting, that are not white. And so, when a part comes along that isn't white, it's like, it's still gonna be white. Still gonna be a white person playing it.
Stupid.
It's like, maybe don't do that.
Dude, does Matthew McConaughey need any more money? Let's just ask ourselves that question.
Does Matthew McConaughey need to be a beetle?
Does Charlize Theron really need to be the monkey?
Yeah.
The answer is no.
Like, even like George Takei is Asian.
He's a very small side character, and he's like the only Asian person in the cast.
He's got like 2 lines.
Yeah.
I think one of them is "Oh my."
Oh my. What a classic line.
Classic.
He should have been the grandfather. That's what I expected when I saw he was in the, in the role in the movie. But no, he's just a guy.
Yeah. In hindsight, I imagine the people making the movie, I guess taking away the personal relationship they have with the actors, they might say, well, yeah, I guess if we were making it, we might do it with Asian performers instead. But I think that's something that still wasn't really prioritized in the development. And, like, this would have started in, like, 2010, 2011. So...
True. That is true. Something to think about.
So, like, that conversation wasn't necessarily at that same point. Though, you know...
It should have been. Yeah.
And, like, it definitely was still there. It just wasn't necessarily mainstream because white people weren't conscientious of it.
Yeah. I feel like it maybe, in this day and age, it wouldn't have... It would have even done even worse than it did back in 2016, which is sad.
Additional controversy on top of it.
Damn it, Sam.
I'm sorry. I gotta stop doing this to Kubo. And, like, I think most Disney movies now, especially, are, like, making sure that they have accurate casting for characters, which is a good thing. And it's, like, it's there because enough people have raised enough of us to think about it, where it's like, okay, so people want this. Like, let's do it.
People just want accuracy.
Yeah. And it's a good thing.
Not only that, But I would say, like, some of the voices when they came out of the characters just really threw me off.
Yeah, the old lady.
I didn't like them.
the like beggar woman, I guess.
Yeah.
What's her character's?
I don't know her name.
Like,
Just she's a lady.
Initially, I thought she was his grandma, but she was just like a lady in the town. Very white voice.
Yeah, she just sounds like an old white lady.
Yeah,
really, and I get that she's a Academy Awarded actress or whatever.
So
but
then don't give the part to her. I don't know.
She doesn't need that money.
I guess it don't need to be as hard on like the smaller studios like this, but you have to have a celebrity for every part.
Yeah, I guess that they probably were just trying to get money or whatever.
Yeah, it's like marketing for the movie.
Oh my!
It's like, look at all these famous characters.
Yeah,
you'll hear them say 2 lines. Then please watch the animation. Please appreciate this.
Please
we put a lot of work into this.
And everyone's like, "Fuck this puppet show!
Man,
I hate puppets.
Oh no,
the worst part of middle school."
Everyone has a puppet story from middle school.
Well, I didn't go there. No one else has anything to say about this movie.
Those were all the ones I set aside.
It just sounds like people didn't love the film. Yeah. That's okay, man.
There's a conversation to be had about like casting and who should be telling certain, like not necessarily who should be, but who is telling certain stories, who has the opportunity to tell those stories in that medium of like movies and all that. But beyond that, it was mostly people who were like, "What the fuck? This sucks. This story's lame.
I don't want to think about this. It's too deep."
Yeah.
And it is like pretty deep though.
Yeah. It's deep if you let it be deep. Like you kind of got to meet it halfway. That's kind of a big ask for people, I think.
It just talks a lot about like death and loss and life and stuff.
And it is messy. It is like kind of all over the place. But that's kind of fun.
That's life, dog.
That's like life.
That's hard life on the streets. Life is messy, dude.
It's life on the puppet show streets.
Sometimes your dad's a bug. And that's it.
Sometimes your mom's a monkey. Oh, and she eats bugs.
She does eat bugs.
She ate a bug near the beginning of
Oh
her
my
time
god.
What if that was her dad the whole time?
Oh my god. She eats his father right in front of him?
We solved the movie, guys.
Alright, that's it.
I told you we'd do it.
We finally uncovered the ugly truth of this film.
We finally uncovered that the 2 strings was really the string of life.
Is it? I think it's just the string of memory.
Yeah.
The strings with memory are more powerful? Question mark?
That was a fun reveal at the end. I was like, oh, what's the 2 strings? What's the 2 strings? And then he puts the 3rd string in and it's like, it's Kubo and the 2 strings. So
there's
it's 3 strings.
Yes!
Like, oh, fuck. That solves everything.
Hell yeah, there's 3 strings because Kubo is a string. He puts his own hair. And by the way, it holds up very well.
Yeah, that sounds way more like the string of an instrument than a piece of hair. But,
I'm not gonna ask any questions.
Yeah, don't need to worry yourselves with that.
One of them's 2 of the strings are hair, and the 3rd string is the bow. Oh, is an arrow.
Yes. Yeah, it's from the bow.
A string from a bow.
That is Bugdad was using.
Bugdad.
Bugdad.
We're gonna make a show called
Kubo and the Bugdad.
That's what the cowboy version would be called.
Son, have you rolled up your pile of dung today? No, Bugdad.
Stop telling me how to live my life.
I just want to go wrestle cattle. You can wrestle cattle when the dung pile is on the other side of the road. I want it over there for some reason. I don't understand my own instincts.
Damn it, Bugdad.
Damn it, Bugdad.
Well,
on that happy note.
We digress.
We talked, we laughed. Kubo and the 2 Strings. Recommend it.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's nice to watch.
Yeah, it's not like a perfectly clean experience, but it's interesting and it's different and it's impressive and it's
thought-provoking.
It's provocative. I guess that was the podcast.
Wait, what movie are we going to watch next time?
Oh yeah, next time. I think we mentioned Klaus.
We did.
It's just too late for Christmas. Perfect timing.
Yeah, it could never happen.
Or do you want to watch something else? Save Klaus for another year.
We want to save Klaus for all the way next year?
I don't know. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, I guess so. You did mention a movie that...
You mentioned a few movies.
Fuck.
Every other time we do this, we used to have, like, while we're, like, looking up reviews and stuff, we just start talking about, like, oh yeah, there's all these other movies we should watch.
Yeah, but we're not going to do Coraline, which is a great movie, by the way, Brandon. I'm just kidding.
Brandon?
I don't know if that was the guy.
It doesn't matter. They're all Brandon to me.
I had a list on my Pahoni.
Take a look at your Pahoni.
Oh no, it only had 3.
It was Klaus, the other one?
And Triplets of Belleville.
Oh yeah, we already did that.
We already did all 3 of the ones I have written down.
Want to just do Klaus?
Sure, let's do Klaus. Why
I
not?
like Klaus.
It's a good movie.
It's very good. Cool. So next time we're going to watch Klaus.
The Christmas movie.
Yeah, we're actually uploading these to YouTube now. So you might...
Hear them.
Yeah.
You might hear them at some point.
Yeah. So,
judge them harshly.
Yeah.
So have fun with that.
Let us know how mad you are at us.
Yes, my mental health can definitely handle that right now.
Yeah. We can all deal with like a little bit of abuse right now.
Please.
We're not all at the end of our proverbial 2 strings.
It's all jokes on this end.
Yeah. Well,
anyway,